Many of those who've been willful participants in this ongoing crusade against trans people that focus their attentions on athletics, high school and college and professional athletics, say the reason they are so against trans people is because it's not fair. It's unsporting. They are ruining the sport because they have natural biological advantages. And that, that's why we have such a problem with them and they need to be banned from public life. Well, unfortunately for those people, the results of a scientific study have come out that indicate that while that was never a particularly good explanation for their positions, it isn't even accurate. So there's a new study that was funded by the International Olympic Committee. It compared the athletic abilities of 35 trans athletes with 40 cisgender athletes, so groups of both, and found that contrary to what you have heard generally from right-wing talk shows and stuff like that, trans women athletes may actually have physical disadvantages compared to cis women. And so they took 23 trans women, 12 trans men, 21 cis women, and 19 cis men. The trans participants had all undergone more than a year of hormone therapy, while all participants, both the cis and trans participants, were either active in competitive sports or took part in physical training at least 3 times per week. So they were very athletically, like busy, basically. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the Damage Report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you. And here's what they found. They found that trans women had decreased lung function and equivalent bone density, both things that are linked to muscular strength, compared to cis women. Trans women also performed worse than cis women in certain cardiovascular tests and had less lower body strength than cis women. Researchers also found, quote, notable disparities in fat mass, fat-free mass, laboratory sports performance measures, and hand grip strength measures between cisgender male and transgender female athletes. Differences which they said, quote, underscore the inadequacy of using cisgender male athletes as proxies for transgender women athletes. And I want to read a comment from the lead researcher from the study about what they found and what they think the takeaway should be from it. Saying the main takeaway message is the requirement of international federations and their experts to treat trans women very differently to cis men. It follows that research conducted comparing biological men to biological women is almost irrelevant in this debate, and evidence from such comparisons should not be used to inform policy, as is the case by many armchair professors advocating the default ban position. And so we have that study. We also have, sort of at a very similar time, a group of 400 current and former Olympic athletes who came together in a letter to urge the NCAA to not ban trans athletes from women's sports, which I think is awesome as a show of solidarity. So you have that solidarity from people who competed, who know what the sports are like. And then you have the study indicating that the supposed advantage in terms of athletic performance and all that is not actually what it's been pitched as. So I find that interesting. There's a little dark lining to the story for me, which perhaps we'll get to, but Sharon, what do you think of this?
We keep coming back to this. And I think it's important to enlighten, and I think it's important to call it out. When I say that it's not real, this is not a real issue, I don't mean to diminish people who this is their everyday life and their struggle and their fight to be recognized, but it just seems to me that it's sick to twist and what's the word for when you co-opt someone's story just to do harm to it? It just feels yucky to me. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just don't know why we can't be respectful here. And I am with science. I don't doubt certain things. I just don't. I'm failing you, but I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you simultaneously don't get it on a human level. I think that you do get it on a political and rhetorical level. You get why the politicians are doing it. You get why the independent right-wing commenters are doing it. They don't care about any of the things that they're saying. They care about what they can get by saying them. That's what they're actually doing. These guys, what they care about is in Mississippi or whatever, there's a high school swimmer. And how dare a trans athlete have an advantage over another high school women's swimmer? And I will comment on this and never again for the rest of my life think about women's swimming, let alone in high school, let alone in Mississippi. And they demonstrated how ridiculous pretending to care about the sports is when they decided when I'm like Caitlin Cook is her name, the athlete, the amazing basketball player.
Clark, right? Caitlin Clark.
Sorry, Caitlin Clark. Yeah. When she was doing well, they lost their minds. How dare she draw new people into the sport? How dare people be interested in this as a result of her? It's unacceptable. How dare they imply that women should earn as much as men? How dare they? I won't stand for it. Okay, now moving on. We gotta save women's sports with a trans athlete. It's such a ridiculous fallacy, and that's the dark lining to this, by the way. So their argument is we can't let trans athletes compete because they'll have an unfair advantage. This research implies they don't. And that will have no effect whatsoever because they never meant it when they said it. They don't care about the advantage. So the fact that the advantage does not exist will not convince any of them. And if any of them even acknowledge this research, and I think it's somewhat unlikely that they will, it will be to either undercut it knowing nothing about it, or imply that that was never the real reason that they opposed it anyway. Not a single one of them will change their position because they never meant their position in the first place. They cared as little about the things as they were saying as about the athletes they were talking about, trans or cis. None of this is real. All of this is just a means to notoriety and fame and money and whatever it is, trying to fill the gaping hole in their hearts and their souls that can never be filled. So I'm very glad that the researchers did this. And by the way, I've seen a number of reactions from both trans athletes and trans activists pointing out that they don't expect that this is gonna change anything. So they're certainly wide-eyed about the politics of this. But anyway, glad to see that the research is out there, at least so that when you see someone making these BS points, you can now link to the study that proves that it's BS. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?